daily soccer podcast with the Global Sports Podcast Network.
Hello and welcome back to the Daily Southampton, part of the Global Sports Podcast Network. My name is Greg Elliott, and as always today joined by my good friend and wonderful co-host, Zencastr Finch. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, not too bad, mate. Not too bad at all.
And also, once again, joined by the co-founder of GSPN, Nick Britton, and Derby fan. Well, that was a game at the weekend. How's the Derby side feeling, Nick? How's it going?
I'd sense, and probably a lot better than the Southampton side, because we were all quite pleased with that. It was, I'm not going to lie to you, this was the best home performance we've had this season. In fact, it's probably the best performance we've had all season, because for the first time in the eyes of the Derby fans, we actually played some half-decent football. So I know we only got a point, but it's a lot better point, if you like, than the point we got at Charlton a few days earlier. 2 home games, but 2 very different performances. So yeah, we're okay. We're okay with it.
And it can be said in at least recent memory that that's a very Saints thing to do, to bring a big performance out of a side that might otherwise be considered to be struggling. What do you think was different against us that sort of brought that out?
Yeah, I wouldn't call it a big performance. I wouldn't go that far. It was just better. It's just better. Well, I think the key bit was bringing David Ozo into the midfield, which is what supporters have been crying out for the last few games. And he's found himself on the bench and only been able to get a little bit of time here or a little bit of time there. But having him in from the start, I think, made a big difference to the way we played. And also, and we spoke about this last week, just the fact that we've got lots of new players, a lot are coming back from injury, and game by game by game, they're starting to get a sense of how to play with each other, and we're starting to see partnerships emerging a little bit. So I thought Adjamang and Morris up front looked a lot better than they did a couple of days ago. They've only played a couple of games together, and generally we looked a little bit more comfortable. And I think it probably helped playing a team like Southampton, who I felt on the day knocked the ball around very well, but didn't carry an enormous threat up front. If that's not being rude, by the way.
No, I think that
the story of our entire, coverage of Southampton has been, we do really good at the build-up, and then it goes nowhere near the goal, apart from one time.
Well, look, you guys came out of the traps, and I'm sitting there going, after about 15 minutes, going, we're going to lose 5-0 here, because you ran through us so easily in that first 10 minutes of the game. Obviously got the goal that your start deserved, even though I'm not still quite sure how Armstrong can run through 4 defenders who were sitting there waving at him gently instead of actually trying to tackle him. But, beyond that, but we know almost the worst thing you could have done is score early, because we know that we only start playing when we're a goal down. We don't really bother until we're losing, and then we kind of make a bit more of an effort. So you probably scored too early, and it woke everybody up. And I think the crowd sensed it was a big game, because Southampton are a big club in this league, and I think that helped. The crowd seemed to be a lot more on it than they were against Charlton 4 days earlier, and generally it felt just like a bigger atmosphere, and I think that reflected on the players. I think they felt it as well.
Yeah. Zach, we talked a bit about it yesterday, but upon further reflection, is all of the way we slowed down play just down to not having a like-for-like replacement for Ross Stewart? Is that really what it came down to? That was so much of our preparation, and then that option was gone?
Potentially, but I'd also say that after it's he went off, 23 minutes in? That 12, 13 minutes period in between the goal and him going off. Derby had 5, 6, 7 shots. McCarthy was forced into 4 saves. So I don't put it down entirely to that. I put it down to, I think you're right. We definitely scored too early. I think we were shocked by the fact that we scored, and then didn't really know how to calm down afterwards, because they were just flapping about for a bit. And it was just kind of sort of having to settle down. I don't know if that's because of how unsettled the side is still. And I don't think it's as simple, Greg, as we didn't have that like-for-like replacement. But also it was weird to me that then we were big tall guy's been brought down and gone off. Let's not bring on another big tall guy. Let's bring on Tom Fellows. And that threw me off a little bit. but also you can tell, I think it's just not, there's not the trust there in Downs at the moment to deliver. And he kind of proved it again a little bit yesterday. Whether it's unfortunate, but it's just the reality of the situation. You're right, Greg. It's one of those things we've also talked about where we want them to have multiple plans to win the game. It did feel like we had a very set plan, and it didn't really, we didn't really have much of a plan B other than to try and, I don't know, pepper the outside of the box, maybe.
You're right, though, because it did drop off almost as soon as we scored as well, right? Like, before Stuart went off. So,
it's just a weird energy
I
change.
mean, at the risk of starting to sound like a Russell Martin thing, is it like a mentality thing where it's like, oh, we don't know what to do now we're in the lead? Like,
no, I think it's what happened is Nick was on the money with, oh, okay, well, let's start playing now, right? It's like if you're playing FIFA yourself, Greg, and your kid scores against you, and you're suddenly like, hang on, like, I don't want to lose. So they started playing a bit better, and it kind of, I think it threw the players a little bit, and you can see that because, again, like McCarthy forced into some very good saves, like very, very early on.
After everything you'd said about McCarthy last week, I think you owe him an apology.
Oh no, I said yesterday, like I
played really
really good game, really good game. Your keeper had a really good game as well, because let's not pretend like we didn't test. It's like we did also test the keeper a little bit. It's just, again, Greg, it's the same old of like, are those chances ever going to go in? That's the big problem. And like, it doesn't matter if you can have most shots ever taken as a stat and still lose every game. So it's a bit of like, it's positive that we are getting more shots away, and we do feel like more like an attacking side than we ever did the whole of last season. But that still isn't really like paying off yet, right?
yeah. Oh, look, I think we said yesterday that it is frustrating when it doesn't come to head, but still just don't think the week's been as bad as everyone thinks. I think it's been all right. 5 points is all right.
We did
Right.
I looked at Southampton. I'll tell you what, I looked at Southampton and I thought there are quite a few similarities to what's happened at Derby, in as much as you've got a new manager, you've got new players, you've had a big sort of turnaround in playing stuff over the summer, and in periods of that game, you look like the players were just kind of getting to know each other better, getting to know those, building those relationships. There was a little bit of uncertainty, I thought, when you approached our area. But on saying that, it's great to see a footballing side in this division, because there are too many sides who don't play good football, and I always enjoy watching teams who play good football. And I thought Southampton, as a footballing side, looked really good. But I think what you need to nail down really is how you convert that last third of the pitch, which is dead easy to say because it's always the hardest thing. But if you can increase your conversion rate, or indeed just create a few more chances, because I was kind of expecting the Alamo at stages of that game, and it never really came, because we're not that, we're not that hard to get at. Our defence, we've got a good defence, but it's not that hard to get at. And sometimes the football was a little bit too nice and a little bit too pretty. But it was. I don't think you're far away. I don't think you're far away. It felt to me that you were. It just needs to click a little bit better, and you'll be a very good side.
Let's hope for that.
That's it. I think a lot of the frustration comes from the fact that it's felt one step away from clicking for a few weeks now, and it just, the problem is, right, these games come so thick and fast that it's been like an emotional roller coaster of a week, from draw, win, draw, and I think the win against Sheffield to set those expectations higher. I actually think Will still said in the press conference, if it was a draw to Sheffield and a win against Derby, that recency bias would have changed the narrative completely, and we'd all be happy that it all clicked into place. So, I don't know. It's an interesting one. Right, let's have some more thoughts, but first let's have a little break and have a message from our partners at Bioniq.
Your body is unique, and Global Sports Podcast Network has partnered with Bioniq, the world's most personalised supplements. Bioniq provide 100% tailor-made supplements, designed to deliver precisely what your body needs at exactly the right levels to optimise your health. No guessing, so click the link in the show notes. Use the code GSPN 2025 for 40% off your first month's subscription. Bioniq. Don't settle for off-the-shelf solutions made for just anybody. Get what's right for you right now. Your
Okay, and we are back. It's good. I'm glad, Nick, that you've got some positives to take from our side of the performance, because we really struggled yesterday to shift that mentality towards the positive end. It felt really frustrating.
Yeah, I was quite surprised. As I say to you guys on WhatsApp, I was quite surprised at the vitriol that was being poured down on the manager, albeit on X, which we all know, is a cesspool of vitriol at the best of times, and not
Ooh,
really.
can't use this as a clip.
Yeah, it's not a place to go for reasoned debate. But I was sort of flicking through the comments underneath the Southampton the official page after you dropped the result, and there was just literally, it's just sack him, get rid of him, and that's the polite version. And I felt that's on the basis of that performance. I mean, I'd like to think, I may be wrong, but I might like to think that going away to Derby shouldn't be seen as an automatic 3 points and shouldn't be seen as such an easy win. And I felt that it was all a little bit harsh, but I wonder if that then, I was thinking, does that give you a look at the mentality of the Southampton fan base at the moment? Do you expect, just because you're in the Premier League last year, that you should be in the top 6 fighting to get back up, especially on the back of such a miserable season?
This is what we keep talking about. This is the thing that I think I get a bit of flack for, which is I think our expectations are well too high. I think we've got a lot of fans that think that remember European nights and think they were like yesterday, and they seem to treat it like that is the direction we should definitely be going in. Like, it would be lovely if every single owner of every single football club had an ambition and a goal to win the Premier League, but that isn't the reality of the situation. And it's not like our owners haven't invested. Okay, they probably originally invested poorly. They haven't done, they made some poor footballing decisions, but ultimately they got us promoted again. And yet probably made some really bad decisions last season. They've gone out of their way to try and prove that they are improving. And what you're getting is a lot of people being like, oh, they're going for the cheap option. And I'm like, what do you actually think we're going to get out of this season? Because there is a lot of the fans that are like, well, we should be winning the Premier League. We should be winning the Championship easily. We didn't win the Championship last time. We came up through the playoffs. Sunderland have already got almost as many points as we had the whole of last season in their first season back in the Premier League in forever. I do think sometimes there needs to be a bit more of a reality check. But I think that people are like, well, no, but that's accepting mediocrity. And I'm like, it's not mediocrity, it's accepting reality. And the reality is that we had a 12-point season last season. It was very, very brutal. It's left a lot of trauma. A lot of the better players we have gone. And we are trying to rebuild that. Rome isn't built in a day. But I understand why they're frustrated, because they just see it as a continuation of lose, never get a win, never score from open play, lose. We don't have good strikers. We don't have good this. We don't have good that. And I think that what happens is some of them might just see the result and just be like, of course,
sometimes that's definitely the case, because I actually definitely saw a different take on it, which makes me wonder if maybe we just focus too much in on the negative, because I saw someone that wasn't me say we might be 3 games into our 25 game unbeaten streak and not know it.
You also proceeded to point out the last time we had an unbeaten streak, most of them were draws, but I think the less said about...
Yeah, that definitely wasn't last season. I don't think
not last season.
To be fair, it might have been 25 minutes, but not 25 games. Yeah. I hear you, Zach, 100%. I must say that after a few years of real trouble at Derby and administration and being relegated and then fighting your way back up and then fighting relegations last year, I long for mediocrity. I long for it. I really do, because that would actually signal moving in an upwards direction, an upwards trajectory. So it's all relative. And I think at this early stage of the season, when you've come down from the Premier League and you're readjusting, and you should be, I mean, Ipswich, probably a slightly different case in point, but I don't even think they're that good this season. I really don't. I think a team like Southampton, if you can make it click, you could easily get yourself up in the top 6 on the back of 3 or 4 wins. And we've seen this league for years and years and years. That's all it takes. You put a little mini unbeaten run together and you shoot up the league.
Yeah, I think that's the thing, but it's interesting because it's we try not to go out of our way to insult our own fan base. at all, really. But I think there's sometimes that like patience needs to be had, because we watched multiple times what happens when we have 3 managers over the course of a season. And this idea that we're just going to like, there has already been calls to replace still with Russell Martin, which is
I was going to say,
blows my mind.
Is available.
Who is now available, yes. But also, people talking about, well, Danny Roll's going to be the answer to our questions. I'm like a guy that did all right with a, mediocre Sheffield Wednesday team. And it's. I just don't think it's ever going to be that simple. There isn't going to be someone that can come in and wave a magic wand. You're seeing that across the Premier League, Ange isn't doing that great at Forest. It's just not that simple. And I think sometimes you're right. We lose sight of the fact that we also had that situation happen. We also almost got liquidated. We had to come back up. We came back to the Premier League. We had all of our players pilfered, and we had those European nights, but that's the ebbs and flows of football. There are some people that are lucky to build lasting legacies. But if you look at Manchester United right now and say, well, this is a footballing behemoth, maybe that's what I think. We should maybe appreciate a little bit more what we've got. But I can understand why people aren't feeling that yet.
Well, yeah, but hang on, just a minute. You're not Sheffield United, who were a whisker away of getting promoted. They were a whisker away of getting promoted, or getting into the playoff final. Oh no, they were in the playoff. They got whisker of getting promoted, and look at them now, bottom of the league.
Implosion, right? Hired one of our old managers.
Yeah, that was a ludicrous move. I don't
Strange decision.
Wednesday really went out of their way to make it difficult to be the worst team in Sheffield, and United have still somehow hit that low. It's almost unbelievable to see.
Oh dear.
Yeah, so be thankful on the back of being relegated with the second lowest points total in history, and thank you for that.
Welcome.
Why would you suddenly expect it to then go from a culture of losing nearly every game over a 38-game season to suddenly, in a space of a couple of months, go to a culture of winning every game? It doesn't make sense. And I could tell you from bitter experience of all those years ago when we went down with 11 points, culturally, it's difficult because the fans become both depressed and expectant all at the same time. And the vibe around the club, that it just takes some time to shake off. It's just the way it is. I would be very happy if I was in your shoes as a Southampton supporter. I would be not delighted with the start, but neither would I be too worried. I would say you've got off to a perfectly solid and respectable start to the season.
There's definitely lots of games left to play and lots of ground yet to make up. That's for sure. Right, let's take another quick break and hear a message from our partners at Zencastr. Here at the Global Sports Podcast Network, we spent a lot of time selecting our delivery platform, and Zencastr came out the clear winner. With 4K video recording from your phone and AI editing that automatically removes all those ums and ahs, it's super easy to start a podcast that sounds great and is delivered efficiently. If you're ready to tell your story, check out the link in the show description and learn more about Zencastr. Okay, and we are back. So we talked a lot about our perspective. I just wanted to shine the torch, Nick, on Derby a little bit. And you're on a little 3-game undefeated run of your own now, right? That's 3 draws from 3. That's it's better than nothing, right? How are you expecting to kick on?
Well done for making that sound truly remarkable feat. Well done. Yeah, how are we expected to kick on? I think it's small steps. It's small steps and it's slow build. And I think not unlike Southampton, there's an impatience among an element of our fan base. People are getting itchy a little bit. And I wouldn't say there's questions being asked about John Eustace, but he's probably some of the goodwill that he had over the summer, having kept us up last season, is ebbing away a little bit. Part of the issue is that we don't really see an identity of the team yet. We don't really know how they're playing. But I think if you'd had this conversation with me on Friday, I would have been probably a little bit more down in the dumps because as I said before, I thought Saturday we at last started showing signs that we could play football. That little spell, Zach, that you alluded to, where suddenly we created more chances in 10 minutes than we created in the entire season put together far.
I lost count of the amount of corners you had. It was really good.
and the goalkeeper's been called into action. The defenders are making last ditch things, and how Weimann hasn't scored at least one of those two chances, I won't know. But then suddenly you're going, oh, okay, right, great. Weimann then floats the ball to Adjumang, who's new. He's come across from the States. He had a hernia operation in the summer, so he's only into his sort of second or third start. Heads it in. It's his first goal. So you're looking at all the time at these little bits that will help the incremental change as the team goes on. We've got a couple of key players to come back from injury who we hope will really help kick on the team, particularly in the wide area. The left back we've got on loan from Liverpool, who's come with a great reputation, but hasn't kicked a ball yet because he's been injured. And our key centre half, Sondre Langes, who had an operation over the summer, again hasn't kicked a ball. But those two will massively help our defence, and in Beck help us go forward, because the system is built on width. The difficulty being we've got no wide players, and I think that's the issue with Derby. If we can get the fullbacks pushing on, and in the January get a winger or two, it'll make a huge difference to the team. Ryan Brewster came on late in the game, and again we've only seen him once or twice, but every time he's come on, he looks better. So if we can get these players in and keep them fit and keep them playing, there's a lot of optimism that we can potentially have a top 10 finish, and that will mark real progress from last year's relegation fight. So it's a bit frustrating, it's a bit annoying, but ultimately I think you've got to be patient. You've got to give the players time to get up to fitness, to get to know each other, and if we do that, I think the likelihood is we'll get better, not worse.
It's good. It sounds like positive things. Look, I think I said it yesterday that it's not an easy league, because if it was, no one would enjoy it as much as we do. It's the whole point is that realistically, any team in the league can beat anyone on any given day, and that's why we love it. And sometimes that makes it feel painful when when you stick out and think you're going to win and get a 1-1 draw, but it's why it's the best league in the world, surely. That's
Well,
all we can aspire
Greg,
to.
like 2 years on, still mad about us losing to Rotherham. Like,
anybody could lose to Rotherham. Been there, done
yeah,
that.
well, there you go. But it's still, I think at the time, you'd ask any one of our fans, like, oh, we can't lose to Rotherham. And then we did. And we were like, what? And again, I think that's where it's just the sense of expectation. But hopefully, both clubs can move onwards and upwards until we meet again, and we maybe win the next one. Who knows?
Well, it'll be well. I hope not, but I think that it'll be very interesting. It will actually genuinely very interesting to see where we both are. When we meet again, and just sort of see what progress, if any, has been made. Bearing in mind the discussion we've just had.
Absolutely. And now 2 weeks of international football to tide us over. So what more can you ask for?
Yeah. Well, yeah. A lot more. Nobody likes international breaks.
No international
Nobody
football,
likes that.
apart from the World Cups, which I do enjoy. But
Oh yeah. And I should say, if you do like the World Cup, do listen to the GSPN Road to World Cup 26 podcast, produced every Friday or sometimes Saturday morning if you can't get around to Friday. It's a very good listen.
Fascinating stuff about some teams that I would have paid zero attention to previously.
That's the point, though. That's the point. Now, in a few months' time, you think, I don't know anything about Uruguay. Go onto the podcast, and we do episodes about every single team. So you'll know all there is to know about Uruguay by listening to the podcast. That's the joy of it.
Brilliant. Absolutely. Go and give that a listen. Also, you can catch Nick on the daily Premier League roundup from the Global Sports Podcast Network. So go and give that a listen too for the not as exciting league, but it's where all the money is, I suppose. That's it. That's all
I mean, I don't know, mate. All teams that have been promoted doing a bit better than we expected. So, maybe we'll get an exciting year.
Maybe we'll have a discussion about that later in the week, I feel. But look, Nick, thank you so much for joining us. It's been great having you on before and after the game. I'm glad that you're feeling positive, and I like the positives you took from our side out of it. I'm feeling a lot more positive after speaking to you than I
have to say, actually. I think maybe leaving the bubble occasionally is a good thing.
Well, I'm glad I've come and helped you, lads. That's all I want to do. That's all I want to do. Spread positive vibes around. No, it's been great. I've really enjoyed it. And I look forward to the return fixture, and we'll do it all over again.
Absolutely. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Thank you, Zach, for joining us as well. We will be back tomorrow, and we will have something Saints related to talk about because we never run out. I promise. It's always there. If you don't think we spend another 3 hours a day talking about other Saints stuff outside of the podcast, you're wrong.
We wouldn't have like 290 odd episodes if that wasn't the case.
That's it. We'll be back then. Until then, let us know. Are you feeling more positive now that time has elapsed? Let us know on all of the socials. We're on all of them. Facebook, X, TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, Blue Sky. We love hearing from you. Let us know, and we will talk to you then. Until then, we'll see you tomorrow, everyone. Have a wonderful day. Bye.
Your daily soccer podcast with the Global Sports Podcast Network.